Hello everybody, welcome back. So I want to look through some of my games from the Northumbria Masters. Interesting tournament. The first game we're going to look at is a game I had yesterday. I was playing Kevin Arakamir Grant, who's originally from Georgia and is moved to Scotland, married a Scottish chess player called Jonathan Grant. And probably she's most known for scoring 11 out of 11 in Thessaloniki Olympiad in Greece. And shortly after that, she got the Grand Master title. Mark Hebden told me that he got enough. She got the rating against him. I think there was a draw. So she's been over 2,500. But as you see, another victim of deflation. She's gone down a lot. She doesn't play probably as much as she used to. Anyway, I'm just all the games. I'm just going to mention the most interesting moments. So I played this line 95, which is slightly unusual, but probably not terrible. I was concerned about the move Queen G3 here, trying to stop Bishop E7, maybe H5, but then I wonder about Bishop G5. But I guess Queen B6 is possible. I don't know. I was a little bit concerned about that, I must admit. So go back. Anyway, she went knight c3, which is very natural, and I played bishop e7. And now she went bishop h6. So I was already a little bit worried here, something I'd gone slightly wrong. I went bishop f6. As you mentioned after the game, there's possibility to go rook ad1. By the way, I was also concerned that she would go e5 directly here, because that's looking to squash black. It's a very dangerous strategic try. Possibly I could just simply take and go king h8 and maybe I'm surviving. If you go rook d1, I could probably unpin. So there's probably ways that black is surviving, but it did look quite scary. But she went here, which is... I was half expecting her to go back, and then I wasn't sure whether I would try and play on. I would probably just repeat here and go here and just make a draw. But she went e5. And then I took. Well, this is also very dangerous. So this is a critical moment. Apparently, what I didn't realise during the game. Well, I thought this move was bad. I didn't think maybe it was necessarily directly losing, but just not very good. For example, she could go here. Now, something like this might be possible, but I think normally speaking, when you exchange down, you want the rooks to not have open files. Here the rook can come to d7, the queen can come to c7, white is very active. So it's not like an obvious, I'm exchanged down but I've got loads of comp for it position. But there's also a possibility to go knight d5 here, which is also quite dangerous. Actually, it's probably very strong, because if I move the queen here, then I'm running into knight c7. And if I move the queen here, then she could simply win the exchange with a move like bishop h6. So I got this far, and I was looking at moves like knight c6. I was trying to make knight c4 work, but that was also running into knight d5. What I missed is apparently you can go here. That's not a move that I really considered. And again, it should be something I should have spent more time on. Because if you move the queen, where do you move the queen to? It's not so clear where you move the queen to. Now apparently I can go knight c4, and apparently I'm surviving. Oh no, hang on. No, probably it's knight g6 here in a specific position, right? Oh, but then bishop d6. So what is the move? Quite a difficult position. Yeah, knight c4, and if you go knight d5, I have queen c5 maybe. Yeah, because it's just hitting this. So that's what the computer was saying, that maybe knight e5 was playable after all. But I went knight d7, which was pretty much the only other move. So I saw that earlier I'd missed that I could go knight d7. I wondered if she missed knight d7 was possible at all. It's not a great move because you're blocking the rook, but it's also possible that she overlooked that move. She went knight e4. And the other thing was that she was already very short of time. You see there, she's got 32 minutes left for the rest of the game. So that's the entire game, plus increment. So there's not much time, and that was the issue that she was having throughout the tournament. Ketivan was that she was getting very short time, and that's an impractical approach because you're essentially giving yourself a handicap already. So I went here. She played f4. Now, I nearly blundered here. I've strongly considered playing this move because I didn't see a direct refutation, but there is a direct refutation. So this position, I would suggest that you pause your video and try to think what white could play here, which I'd completely overlooked in my calculations, and see had seen, which is directly winning for white. So this is white to play in win position, and C had noticed that I hadn't noticed that rook d7 was possible. Queen takes d7, and now you take on g7. Hit the bishop, right? Well, now that loses to that move. So basically completely busted. Yeah, I mean, she's just friend. I mean, I could resign. So after rook d7 would come as a huge shock. I would probably resign because there's really no point in playing this position on once I've just lost a full piece for nothing. Very bad position. So that was what I was trying to do actually during this round, because I realised the previous days I played very badly, and my rhythm was out. Something was off. And I think I wasn't falsifying variations very well, for example. So use this falsify technique. Is there something wrong with this move? Now, clearly that didn't work with bishop takes b2, because I didn't see anything. It just felt wrong. I was also afraid of moves like rook d2 or rook e2, and I felt they were very strong for white anyway. So eventually I went queen b6, which is probably the best try. I thought she might even go for the endgame with queen f2, but she went king h1, which is best. Now I've got bishop d4. This is the only move. So it's this moment, again, what is the best try for white? So have a think about this position. What is the best try? You might want to pause your video again. The best try here, apparently, is a move I didn't even see. So I was looking at moves like rook d3 or rook d2 or even rook e2. I think they're all possible. And I think they're quite good for white. But I think the best try was actually rook e3. And that's actually quite powerful. It might even set up a threat of rook d4 or followed by rook d3, right? Because this, oh no, this is back rank with queen b2, right? But it does just simply threaten rook d3, which is quite a strong threat. Now, apparently the best defense is to go here and give back the piece. Very hard to do. And go here. And the point is that that bishop will suddenly be out of the game a little bit. So black will have maybe some holding chances. The other lines I was looking at was stuff like, I think you can't really go here. Because, again, yeah, at some point white should throw in h3. Or rook here is also possible. It's just good for white. I think what was about the other possibility that was, if you don't see rook e3, is rook d3 also good? Not quite as good actually for some obscure reason. No, that's actually losing. Right, or close to losing, because I take go here, right? So what's the difference? Why is rook e3? Yeah, it's kind of obscure why rook e3 this line. Oh, because rook b3, right? Where you still got the rook on the d file. So it actually sets up a threat of rook b3. That's very clever actually. Whereas rook b3 doesn't really threaten rook. Rook d3 doesn't really threaten rook b3 because the queen is then, you know, it can move away and white's not attacking the bishop. So rook e2 was also possible. That was another, yeah, similar kind of ideas, right? Just go there. And I thought I was in a bit of trouble, but fortunately for me, Ketivan fought for a long time. And she took there, which I think is quite a big mistake. And now the game starts to turn around. And I quite fearlessly grabbed that pawn. I didn't see anything. This feels like the right move to play because I'm defending. It's quite important to stop that threat. Now she still has some pressure here, but I was slightly surprised by her next move. I thought she'd leave the queen on g3 and play something like h3 or bring the rook to d1. Maybe even h4 is possible. So he went queen d3. I felt that was wrong because I felt like you're moving away from the black king. I noticed he's setting up this threat. So the first thing I thought was, oh, I understand her idea. So you're trying to think, well, your idea. What's the idea? Well, one idea is to maybe go rook b1 and hit the queen, although there is queen a2. But the clear idea, obvious idea, is to go knight g5. Well, I could go there because after rook b1, I even have queen a2. But with queen a2, maybe the rook will come down and still get 2 rooks on the 7th, which is quite dangerous. But there's also rook c8. And if you take there, then check, and black gets a very good endgame. As you probably know, you probably take here first, so that white isn't hitting the pawn on b7. And then you're ready to... I think this is a winning endgame, actually, because... or very good for black, because this pawn is weak. So not only is black a pawn up, but his pawn is weak and looking very strong for black. So, see... but I didn't play that. I actually went queen to c2. Sorry, this position. So I went rook c8. Instead of playing h6, I went rook c8. Then I went queen c2. I went rook c3. Now I went queen g6. And c took on b7. So this is my idea. I want to go rook c2. So it looks like stupid what I'm doing because I've given up a pawn. And now she's hit this pawn as well. Why did I try and defend the pawn? With something like rook... Well, I couldn't go rook c7 there, but I could have gone h6 followed by rook c7, defend the pawn. Or I could have just got h6 to take on a2. But the idea is I want to keep control. Because I know from experience that one of the key ways you win good positions or you win one positions is to keep control. So this felt like I'm keeping control, I'm stopping her counterplay, and then I'm setting up a tactical trick. So this actually wins a pawn because I'm threatening to take the pawn, but I'm also threatening h6, and when the knight moves, I'm threatening mate. So he could have potentially maybe go for this line, but I felt that this was technically lost because of something like, for example, queen f6. I think that's pretty much the only move, right? Well, it's also queen h7 is possible, and if rook h5, then you simply move the queen somewhere like d3. Also probably good for black. But I think queen f6, I calculate this, I thought this is probably going to be good enough to win, because although I've only got 2 pawns left, it's kind of similar actually to my first game of the day where I got 2 rooks and a bishop against 2 rooks, but this time we both got queens on. So anyway, so keeping control. So he decided to not take on a7. So he went queen g3, which means I win a pawn. So I was feeling very confident at this point. Now the best move here is rook c8. Now, I don't know why I didn't really think about that for longer. So I thought I did a fairly good job of keeping control of my emotions. This is a problem that I've been having lately. When I get into good positions, I start getting excited, and I'm like, "Way, I'm gonna win, right?" And this actually cost me a lot of times against this specific opponent, actually in the past, where she's often got shorter time, and I haven't punished her because I've got excited and played too quickly. We've had a lot of good battles in the past. I remember there was one game from Edinburgh Congress where I played her twice in the last round of an Edinburgh Congress, and both times we drew, I think. And one game where I actually went down to my last second and played. It was probably the only time it's ever happened. I banged the clock just before I lost on time, and the game ended in a draw. There was another one I remember where I played her, and if I won the last round, I would have won the tournament outright. I would have won the Edinburgh Congress outright. I would have won like 500 quid. And I was sitting on a bench before the game, quite nervous in Edinburgh. And this sort of German physics student, she sat down. She's quite pretty actually. She sat down right next to me on the bench. I thought, well, English girls would never do that. So Germany, maybe they got a slightly different approach. Anyway, she sat down on the bench. We sort of vaguely had a conversation. But anyway, I'm digressing massively. We're going back to this position. Queen f3. I went rook d8, which is not a bad move, but it's not. Sorry, after h6 knight e4, I went rook d8. Not as bad, not as good as rook c8. Intended rook there, rook takes, which is a fairly obvious way to try and win. But I set it up like a rook d3 one mover. So obviously you can't take the rook because that would allow the checkmate. You've got to move the queen. And I did strongly consider this. But I was concerned about the move f5, and I thought this is the sort of thing where she gets away from me, where I end up screwing up the game because I'm trying too hard to win immediately. And she's got a little bit of counterplay here. I mean, objectively, it must be good for black. Yeah, it's very good for black. Probably we're just winning. But I was a little bit concerned about that. Maybe she's got something even better than, sorry, that line. Probably should have gone for this, actually. Oh, she's actually got rook b8 and then f5. Yeah, so it's actually not that simple. So I think the move I played was probably as good as anything. It's actually not as winning as I thought it would be, this position. So if you go back to rook d8, it's probably more... Yeah, rook d8 is still very good, right? But this is what I mean. This is the sort of situation where it's very easy to lose objectivity. Because... you're playing short of time, and you think, yeah, I'm going to put her away, but in fact, you know, because she's short of time, you think I'm winning more than, you know, she's looking nervous. I'm winning more than I actually am, and you have to be objective about the position. Think actually is the position actually, it does look very good, but is it actually as crushing as you think? And I kind of realised here that maybe it wasn't quite so simple. And she went rook b5, which I thought was a good move, although the computer prefers rook c7. A very hard move to find, just sadistically waiting, right? She went rook b5. Yeah, rook d5. I thought if she took, then this is completely hopeless, because I will go rook a1. I thought this was winning, and then the bishop against the knight, I'm going to have two outside passed pawns. I thought this must be completely winning, and it is. So she couldn't do that. So she went rook back, and then I went rook f5. So my threat is actually not potentially well to take and go rook f4, but also simply to go rook f4 directly. And this is where I thought she'd go rook f1, and that was what the computer said was the best try, but still bad for white. But as he took, and now it's fairly straightforward, I think. Yeah, and again, but this is a moment. I played bishop e5 in the game, but this is again this example where I think in the past I would have screwed it up against Ketty, because my first instinct was to go rook a4, thinking if she moves the knight, well, take on f4 is happy days, right? Game over. Of course, you got to see what is wrong with the variation. The thing that's wrong with that variation is she will go g4. This is where she's very good. She will pounce if you make a mistake. And that would have been a mistake, because if you move a rook, she's going to go f5. And something like this is not so clear. From the start, she could go check, followed by knight d6. Possibly not the best option because h3 is weak. But she gets to take on f7. But also she could simply... Yeah, because she could simply take and take. And it's not clear even that's winning, right? Or take and go knight d6. But I think maybe check was quite good and then go knight d6. And then if you go here, I take here. And actually not so simple. Might even be a draw now. Because I'm running out, I mean, okay, objectively maybe this is winning because of the A pawn, but I'm running out of materials. So, yeah, it's actually winning very easy. Was there anything I missed in that variation? So maybe that was actually still good for black. So it was still good for black, but I thought, why allow it? And I played a good move, again, using the same ideas before that you're controlling the game. Bishop e5 controls the game. Because if you take on e5, I have rook f1, and it forces g3, which is not a move that she wants to play because it opens up the second rank. Now went rook e2, and apparently the best defense is rook b4, which I was expecting. Rook e2 actually wasn't the best move either. a5 was better. Just, yeah, that's what computers would do. They wouldn't. Humans, we like to create threats. The computer looks at the long term. It says that pawn's just going to march down. I did see moves like that, but I wasn't, you know, when you're nervous, you want to kind of clarify it and immediately win. But in fact, this would have been slightly tricky because I've left, yeah, this was really stupid by me actually. I should have just gone A5. I should have fought for longer here. I had like 30 minutes left. And A5 was quite a simple win and just pushed the pawn down. But I was lucky he didn't find rook B4, which actually would have been quite an awkward defence. Once he did this, then I was confident I was going to win. This is the first time in the game I was certain I was going to win the game. So he was short of time and my position was overwhelming. Okay, went rook F3 and then... Yeah, so the idea is, you know, the weird thing was I nearly went here thinking this was a pin. I mean, the computer actually only gives us, like, clear it. It's not even, when it shows how bad White's position is, that you win a whole rook and you're not actually, you know, like +5 or something. But I thought it was a pin, you know, for some reason I'm thinking, I nearly went there, like, impulsively, but then I calmed down and I went H5 and then it's very simple. Like, it would be, you would never forgive yourself if you messed up this position. And White is losing a piece, so like, I mean, bishop here is also winning, or bishop c5. Wow, bishop c5 is +35. That's quite sad. I mean, also this move is also winning, and rook d5 was also very strong. And yeah, so that game was, other than the opening, which was dodgy, it was a fairly, I thought it was a fairly good game, and I'll show you the round 7 game as well. So that was against Conor Murphy. And I actually had a dream before the tournament that I should play the Scotch. And I was expecting him to play line with Queen F6 because he had played that before, but wisely avoided my prep. He played Bishop C5. I played C3. And Conor played knight to E7. So I think the best move here is maybe just a castle, right? I think D6 was not completely accurate. Yeah, castle's best, or knight E5. Okay, this. So how does this go? So let's say I do this and he comes back. How did White play? There's no way of getting a big edge here, but you can play moves like knight A3 is the most popular move. I'm not sure what the idea of knight A3 is, to be totally honest. I was wondering about this move, or just go D6, right? D6, I was wondering about this. Apparently you just play something like this. Now, what was if I hit the pawn? Let's say I went here. You go here, and let's say he hits the bishop. Oh, that's maybe the idea behind A. Rather than losing time with a bishop where you drop this pawn. Yeah, so here would be bad because of Queen E. Well, Bishop H3 actually, yeah. But you actually go F3. Right, so that kind of makes one of the ideas behind. And let's say they just developed. Now you go here and you've got control. Yeah, the point is that White is slightly better on the king side in these kind of positions. So eventually, if he's played moves like king there, H3, and then eventually push the knight away, and the queen on G6 might be slightly unhappy. And it's kind of what happened in the game, because Conor played... So I wasn't really familiar with these type of positions at all, as White or as Black. I don't think Conor was particularly either. He went D6. I castled. But now I took, and I was fairly happy because I got a safe position where it didn't seem like much risk, which you kind of want when you're playing good players. Now consider that move, but that just runs into, maybe even runs into Bishop E6 actually. Queen D5, Bishop E6, Queen C5, Queen E4 seems like a try for Black because there's no Rook E1 move, that's not happening. And if not, oh, but there is knight D2, I guess. Knight D2, Queen E5, Queen E5, Knight E5, Bishop E6, F E6, Rook E1, and you win the E6 pawn with check. And if knight d3, rook e6, king d7, it's actually, maybe that's playable for black because the pawn on b2 will drop. If rook e3, knight b2, rook b1, knight a4, rook takes b7. Maybe you should have put the king on f7 earlier so that you would have had rook d8 there. But then there was rook takes c7, right? Okay, anyway, we've gone a bit far, but in this position, queen d5 could also simply be met by b6. So that didn't make much sense to me. Queen d5 also castles is possible. Queen c5, queen e4. So I went f4, because obviously you can't take the pawn because of rook e1. So this is all normal. I was actually expecting him to go rook d8 there, or bishop g4. I was expecting a knight a5, it gives us the best move. Yeah, I often wondered if I should throw in a4 at some point, but bishop g4 is quite good. What if he goes rook d8? Still rook f2. Yeah. So this is a position where the double pawns are actually not helping black that much. I think they're quite useful for the endgame. But at the moment, they allow me to have this very strong centre. They can be bad in the endgame as well if you get a king and pawn endgame. But that's a long way off. But at the moment, I've got like potential with these pawns to either push forward or harass the queen. So I was slightly surprised by rook e8, but not a terrible move. But this is where I mentioned this before, that I didn't on one of the other videos. That I didn't really show enough subtlety here. So the question is, where do you put the queen? So that's a question for you. Where would you put the queen? So he's attacking the queen. Where would you put it? So this is where I went wrong. So I went queen g3. And I should have really falsified that in a more subtle way. The idea is, after his next move, they went rook there first. Okay, didn't make much difference. So now the point is he goes bishop e6, which actually really takes the sting out of my position, because he's managed to exchange some pieces. And I think black's position suffers from congestion. You know, these pawns are very strong, and they're kind of smothering him for space. So once he goes bishop e6, that's a really good move, because it kind of makes it very hard for me to really prove any advantage at all. I don't think there is any advantage at all for white anymore. So I needed to be subtle here and go queen after bishop g4. I needed to go queen e3. That was a really key moment. You hit the pawn. So I saw this move, obviously. But I just dismissed it on general grounds because I thought the rook is coming down on the e file. But after b6, yeah, it's still a tricky position. I mean, you know, computer says white is a lot better here, but you know, realistically, well, b6 actually is not the only move. There's also rook d8 as possible move as well, because you're hitting the knight. So maybe he starts with rook d8. Now rook f2. Now I'm threatening to take the pawn. So let's say he went, well, you can also go queen d6 as another option. Let's say he went here. Apparently there are ideas of going f5, which I kind of underestimated. And the point is that when the queen moves, you then go h3, and then the bishop is starting to run out of space. I vaguely see these kind of ideas, but I think also I forgot that after f5, bishop f5 is not really possible, because you take, and then when you take here, you're actually just a piece up by white, and also threatening to take on f7. So you can't play this. So what he needs to do here is go queen h5, which is quite a tricky defence to find. And of course, as black, you'd be worried about moves like f5 here anyway. f5 here, I don't think quite works, because then they can take on f5. But rook e1 maybe sets it up actually. Yeah, and I think this is a very promising position for white. This is kind of what I wanted to achieve in the game. Yeah, this is very nice for white and very easy to play. You're just pushing these. You're probably going to kick the queen. It's very nice. You know, bishop can come back if they hit the no with a knight. Also, bishop b5 is probably possible as well. Yeah, and black is just really, yeah, e5 and just general not not a pleasant position for black. But instead of that, I lost all my advantage because I played queen g3, which was not, well, maybe not all of my advantage, but most of it. And very good move bishop e6, and I decided I got nothing better than the endgame. Because exchanging bishops, he would have just taken back either the queen or the rook. I'd have had no advantage anyway. Yeah, so I started to go for like more obscure stuff now. I did consider this, but I thought he could actually even go a5 here worried me, because I thought this knight is actually running out of squares. Now he can just take here and it's probably just a draw. I mean, I guess like this is a draw, right? It'd be surprising if it wasn't, but there are some grinders who would play this on as black. I think black is better if anything because you control the two open files. Tiny edge for black, but realistically probably not going to be enough to win. But I was also afraid of the move a5, just basically killing the knight and threatening to go a4 and b6. I mean, probably is not great, but yeah, it's a try. So I didn't want to do that because it was a total grovel for a draw. So I went bishop f1. I do have a good record against Connor, and I think the reason is because he's somebody who thinks quite deeply, and I tend to be quite good at exploiting people's time trouble because of my experience that I've played so many years. Not always against certain players like David Howe, but I think David Howe is on a different level when it comes to handling his time trouble compared to most players. You know, he just never blunders in time trouble, whereas most players, even very strong players, they can blunder. So I'm normally quite good at that. But it kind of backfired at me on this game, as we'll see, because I did achieve a winning position only to completely screw it up. So this position I went a4, which is a bit of a strange move because I suddenly realised after this, because I went a4 with the idea of rook e4. Originally I was intending a5, but to try and really activate the rook, hoping for b5 knight c5, where white has a winning advantage already because a6 is dropping, I think. But after a5, I suddenly realised that he's actually got a very strong move here. So this is the move that I feared. And again, you might want to pause your TV or whatever, or your computer, and think, what should black play here? Well, the best move, or the move I feared in the game, was actually a knight retreat, just to defend the pawn. Because now if I take and then take on a6, I'm going to expose the back rank. And I'm going to lose the bishop. In fact, I think that loses by force because I think he's got rook e1 check. I actually saw this variation in the game. Yeah, so I went a4, and he Connor took it there. He decided it was not. I mean, I think he should have got a5 from a practical perspective, because this is much more double-edged than the game. I think the game is like very safe for white. You're never going to lose, but I was concerned about this. This is why I should have taken the pawn immediately. I mean, I'm not saying this is a better option, but I think I would have been afraid of this. And yeah, a computer gives it as more or less unclear. So you know, this, we see this, and Connor plays the Berlin. We see this pawn structure in the Berlin, and it can be very strong for black. So okay, I was quite happy that now I thought I'm probably not going to lose. I looked at moves like bishop c8, which were a bit wet, really, to be honest. Not terrible. Actually, what I was expecting him to play was the move. What was it? I expected something here. Yeah, maybe bishop g4 was right. But when I went here, yeah, he came back right. Yeah, maybe I was expecting him to play c4 here. I'm not sure if that's a good move, but that's what I was expecting. Yeah, yeah, because it's very double-edged now. If I take here, he could probably take here, right? This pawn is quite strong. You know, you got me the bishop, and then, or maybe the pawn isn't that strong because you've probably got to give it up, right? I think moves like bishop d1 just don't quite work. Yeah, the computer says it's certainly not better for black. Okay, so maybe c4 wasn't that great then. So probably white is out of danger anyway. I don't think white is in any danger here. And I was expecting moves like rook d1. His next move really took me by surprise. I didn't think it was a good move. I think you could just do this, and this is apparently like the draw. You just take here, and then he's hitting the bishop. So, well, I could take here, right? Actually, not so clear. But then you go bishop f5, and then you quickly go bishop e4, and yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is just really nothing. This should have been a draw, this position. Rook b6 was another move that he could have considered. I think that was also very drawish. Although I think rook b6 maybe white's slightly better. Yeah, but he played bishop e2. I thought that was quite a bad move because I mean, I did fall for a mate in one, so maybe that was why he was tempted to play it, because he saw that I fell for a mate in one against Soham Lahaya, Connor, and he thought I'm going to fall for rook d1, which wouldn't surprise, you know, the way I played. But I went h3. I saw the threat, but now I thought my position's a lot better, because now I couldn't see a simple way for him to save the pawn. If he goes here, he's going to run into stuff like bishop d5, rook c5. It's very bad for black. So now I was pretty, yeah, b3 was quite an important move. So I saw that b3, bishop d1, calculating, you know, short variations. So I'm looking at b3, bishop d1, rook c5, bishop b3, rook b2 is good for white, because I win the exchange. So he played c6. If c4, I could simply go b4 and then rook c5, and this is very good for white, I think. So he played c6, I took. Yeah, now I'm borderline winning already. So this is all correct, but when he went bishop d3, so this is a moment where he's very short of time, starting to get very short of time. He's only got 1 minute 20. I've got, like, again, I've got 30 minutes left. So I'm way ahead on the clock. Just like in the game against Ketavan, but unlike in that game, I didn't really control the position at all well here. And I got too excited. And I should have slowed down and sat on my hands. But I continued to play quite quickly, which is obviously a key moment, right? Because if I was able to get a rook to b8, you know, if the rook could move like a sort of queeny, bishopy, knighty thing and go to b8 directly, I'd probably be winning immediately. So rook b2, well, you know, he's not going to just sit there and allow himself to get checkmated. He's obviously going to, you know, do something about it, which he did. So it's quite a shocking. I think I was shocked here by two things. Firstly, how badly I played it, but secondly, how well he defended in time trouble. It really shocked me because, you know, he just played amazingly well up till where he blundered. It's very, very hard to defend his position as black. So what would you play here? What should you play? Well, the computer says that something like rook f3 is very strong. I think there's other moves like rook f8 or rook d8 was also one, or even the check. You should calculate the check. Rook d8 was quite a nice move. And basically, you've got to prevent the move g5. So rook f3 is a good way to try. If he goes here, you go here, and then the bishop is pinned. So get f5 now. He's never threatening to take that, and it's very difficult for him to play g5. Still not that easy to win though. I mean, if he goes bishop f5, then you freeze the pawn by going there. Now g5 will lose to fg. And slowly I'm coming across. I think this is winning. Yeah, it's not easy, but I clicked into complacency mode and it was really painful what I did because I went here. Oh, actually, yeah, yeah. So I very excitedly went there. My adrenaline levels were off the charts at this point. I thought I'm going to beat a very strong player with white, and I'm too excited to control myself. And yeah, so I was looking at. I just forgot about g5. Of course, he's going to go g5. And as soon as he played it, I was like, oh shit. There goes pretty much all my advantage. Yeah, I've still got this pawn, but it's going to be very tough to queen that pawn. You know, so for example, if I went here, firstly you get here, but then where does it go? With a rook on e7? It's not going to go anywhere. Secondly, he might have a move like rook e5, just hitting the pawn directly. Bishop e4, like the game, it starts. Well, maybe that doesn't quite work because of rook e2, but bishop f5. You know, so it's not actually rook a6 also wasn't great. So what does it think about the move c5? Oh, immediate draw with bishop c4. So I think it's actually the best try is here, then here. Yeah, this is a move that I found very tough to play, which is g4, because the point is that you're kind of exposing your king to lots of checks. It's very tough to find that move, I think. It just looks wrong to play g4 there, but for tactical reasons it works. One of the ideas is if he goes rook e2, bishop g2, I don't think he's got time to go rook c on rook c1 to c2 because of rook a7 with a mating attack. So when he moves the bishop, now you go here and you'll look better. Yeah, so this is a much better try than the game. The game was pretty much nothing. Right, he just defended it really well. g6 was a good move, giving his king a bit more space. Now he played another good move. Like, unbelievable how well he was defending given his time pressure situation. I nearly went h4, allowing probably mates. I think h4 is not that great. Yeah, rook e3 is actually just winning. Yeah, that would have been quite embarrassing. Like g3, rook e2, and then rook there, and I can resign because the king can always hide on h6 after the rook check. So I took the pawn, but now it's a draw because I don't have enough materials. So basically, it all comes back to that moment where I was nervous and played too quickly, very poor. So I'm just out of desperation here. I'm trying to get king there. I'm trying to pretend I've got some kind of mating there. I probably don't. He's still got to defend it reasonably well. I mean, bishop e4 again, another superb move which I've completely overlooked. Unbelievable how well he was played in time trouble. And I understood that here is an immediate draw. Because of this, I can't save the bishop. I'd obviously missed bishop e4, but once he played it, I understood that what his idea was. So I went there. I was expecting him to just take, actually, which I thought was a draw, but of course I understand why he didn't, because you're worried about the d pawn, and maybe that wasn't the best defense. But yeah, it's actually saying it's a fairly easy draw. You just basically just control the king, and then you go there, and no, that's actually losing. So yeah, it's actually not that simple. I think in a practical game, it's possible to go wrong here, especially when he's very short of time. And that's the thing. If he had more time, he would have held this end game easily. Obviously, he took here, which is also a very sensible move because it gets rid of my another move that I missed actually. So I saw this variation. I thought this is a very simple draw for black. He just puts the king on g5. I'm never going to win that. So I try desperation. He went check. I thought I've got to pin the bishop, even though it's not great. Yeah, so I went here. And this is where I think he could have made an immediate draw with king here. I was actually looking at the clock at this point because I was like conscious of the fact that around about this point, because I was conscious of the fact that the game had already gone for a long time. We were up like past half one by this point. It was like 20-2. So you've been going for, what time did we start? We started at 10. So we've been going for over 3 hours at that point, 3 hours 40 minutes. And you've got to think about the afternoon game, sadly, with these things. So I think if we'd have got this, and then I have to go like rook takes, I think. Then he goes rook f6, and I think I would have probably offered a draw fairly quickly. Because actually, also, how do you even get the king to the back rank? I mean, you should probably play it on for like 20 moves at least, because, just to see how well he's defending it. And you can play all these moves quite quickly as well, if you want. Because there's no danger of losing this, unless you blunder the rook. Then there is a danger, well even there is a draw, but... she's saying rook h1 is the best move, right? Okay. I'm probably not going to play that. So, how does Keith Arkle get... How does he do the magic where he gets the king to the back rank? How does he even do that? I mean, it's actually not that easy, right? King e5, let's say he just pins the bishop. I think this is a very good drawing technique, is that you pin the bishop to the king. It makes it very tricky. So let's say we go check. Now here actually loses, I think, the king f6 maybe. Or maybe it doesn't lose, but it certainly looks suspicious. No, she's still, even this is still a draw. Actually, it's rook e4, there's no, sorry, I'm hallucinating check here. But even this is a draw, right? Because how do you actually get rid of this pin on the bishop? You could go there, but that doesn't even set up a threat, right? Or just pass. I think that's actually one of the simplest ways, is to pin that bishop against the king. The worst if he goes here and I can actually take the bishop. So maybe Keith Arkle, if Keith Arkle was white here, he'd probably play a subtle waiting move like here. I would guess. Like rook e2. How would he make progress? Like rook here, rook e1 again. I mean, very tough to win, right? Or even get any winning chances. So something like that should have happened realistically, and it would have ended in a draw. Which would have been fair enough, you know. I messed up a winning advantage, but I didn't have it for like 20 moves in a row. I had a winning advantage for 2 or 3 moves. And I didn't make the best use of it, and he defended well, and he outplayed me. But now I felt like this position is actually very tricky for black, because even though, you know, so he could have forced one of the rooks off, which is very key, even if it meant losing the g-pawn. But this position is actually very tricky, especially to play in time trouble, because the 2 rooks are so active. And I've got all these maintenance threats. So here he blundered. He should probably... Well, it's hard to play this. Like, what is... Yeah, he goes here, and then... But then I'm actually a lot better. It's actually losing this position for black, interestingly enough. Wow. That's crazy. So the 2 rooks... the 2 rooks and bishop against the 2 rooks seems to be maybe winning by force if you get the right position. That's interesting, which is something I didn't realise. I think mainly because of the activity, it's just too great for black to handle. Still very tough to win. Like, how do you even win it? So you could, let's do some kind of second rank defense. So, for example, it's showing something like this. There's actually this move, wow, and then you win the rook. Yeah, he's got to watch out. It's almost impossible to defend something like this in time trouble, where I can just press forever. So it's actually much simpler to win with the extra rook, funnily enough. It's just something I'd never realised before. before this game. But I went bishop e4, yeah, and it's very strong, and he's in big trouble. So he played rook g7. It's a losing move. So the question is, so again, like, pause your computer at this point and try and think. Why is that a losing move? Why does rook g7 lose the game? On the spot. So, okay, so let's think about it from my perspective. He's just gone rook g7. I understand what he wants to do. He wants to exchange a pair of rooks. Now, he's not afraid of rook a6, king f7, rook g7, king g7, rook g6, king f7, rook g4, because he knows that rook and bishop against rook is a draw. Now, obviously, you could play it on, but it should be a draw. But you got to look for your checks and captures. So rook a6 is the correct way. Okay, now here, now this is where I've spotted this clever idea, which is very key to this endgame and very simple to miss when you're short of time. So yeah, look for your checks and captures. That move wins the game. If he takes with a rook, I'm going to take there, and with either rook, and it's completely winning. He can't take with a king because it's check for the rook. So if he goes to e7, he loses a rook. So it's only other. So he resigned here, Connor, because this is the game. So that was a good win, but I think he showed his ability really in this tournament, because even though he lost that game, he lost a couple of other games in the first couple of rounds. So he scored, after losing the first two games, he scored 5.5 out of 7, which is impressive really. Because it'd be easy to buckle in that situation and just have a bad tournament and just say, look, you know, it's not my tournament, it's not my week. And that shows good mental strength to basically just say, look, no, I don't care, I'm going to still do well. So I think the future very bright for Connor. And most of these players are a lot younger than me. This guy, actually, Andre as well, that I played, I probably showed my game against him at some point. That was in round 1. Just quickly look at that game. Did I miss anything in that game? Because I never looked at that game, actually. It was quite a bad game from my perspective. So at some point, yeah, so it's around about here where I started to go wrong. So this is okay. I should go h6. Yeah, f6 is too weak in it. It's a horrible move. It looks ugly, right? Yeah, that's a Patzer move. I think I remember sitting at the board in that game and just being knackered. And just like zero energy, feeling really flat and depressed. And it was my worst game of the tournament, actually, because f6 is just a really bad move, and I struggled with his Sicilian in the whole tournament. So I went f6, which is a bad move, and he played it really well after this. Bishop e2. Okay, it was not the best. b3 was also very strong. But this position is not great, and I should allow e5. E5 is more or less a losing move because you're giving him this huge square. It's just a terrible move. Yeah, I just played the whole game like a vegetable. It was really poor stuff. He played it well. He had a good tournament, actually. I think he got 5.5. So he wasn't a million miles off the GM norm. I think maybe the GM norm was at least 6.5. It might have been 7. So this is just pure desperation. And I should have gone g5, but I was worried that eventually he would move. I thought he could even go back and then move the bishop there. And yeah, it was a bit of a non-game, really. But I went there and then he played like I should take, of course, but it's very bad position already. The take, I was worried about knight f6. Yeah. There are ideas like this. Bishop e4, right, with the idea that you try to get queen b4 in. It's still bad, but you could try and punt something. You know, that was what I was kind of trying to do. It's obviously with it understanding that it wasn't going to work. But I mean, this is basically just resignation, because I'd actually forgotten that when he takes here, he's also hitting here. I've just given up by this point. And of course he could have done this immediately, but he decided to take the rook, which also forced me to resign, because not only is he threatening my rook, but he's also threatening bishop f6 with forced checkmate. So he played well in that game, and that really set the tempo for the rest of the tournament, because I struggled with black. And what I'll do is I'll probably do another video after this and show some of the other games that I played in this tournament. Certainly the interesting one was against Soham La Jolla, and also against Gasadov. Those was probably the two most interesting games I played in this tournament. So watch out for that video. We'll be landing quite soon. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please leave your comments down below about, do you think, what defence should I play against 1e4? Did you enjoy the Northumbria Masters in general? If you played, you know, what is your thoughts on 2 games a day? Should there be prize money in these? Because also you should worth bear amount of money. There was no prize money in the all play all. Should there be prize money in the all play all? There was quite a lot of prize money in the Open, so people did win some prize money there. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll try and do some more videos in the future.